meeting to order at 5:35. Welcome all. Great, we seem to be getting members of the public more often. This is exuberant. It's lovely to have some company.
Keep this issue going, and we'll,
right.
Yeah.
We'll be here all.
Careful what you ask for.
Preparing them for this.
I get tired of listening to my own voice. So. All right. Do we have any suggestions to the agenda?
I have none.
Nope, nothing. All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of August 2nd and August 7th.
So moved.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of August 2nd and August 7th. All in favor? Aye. All right. So we sort of added this new line to the agenda line in which we call for public comment on items not on the agenda. And I don't know if everybody's had a chance to see the agenda. If not,
Copies right there.
there's copies right here.
Thank you.
Should be three of them.
And I guess what I would say is that things that are on the agenda, we will get to them.
Yeah, so we're good.
Address them. Greg, if you're interested in a copy of the agenda. Since we're at the top of new business.
Okay.
All right, so if we're ready, we're on to new business. And sidewalk edge in front of Basketville.
So I wanted to report to the board that I heard from Craig on an incident in which a patron went into the store down across that asphalt edge successfully did not make it back up that edge. And so as a result, as you drive by now, you'll see
So, sorry, where are we talking about?
the new sidewalk
Yeah,
where the parking's on the street
yeah,
and the sidewalk height down to the asphalt that has been removed as being a parking spot. There's a steep grade down there that's probably an 18 to 24 inch drop.
where, right in front of the store?
Right
Yeah,
in front of the store.
Backside of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had Brian get pails, sand, stakes, and put caution tape on the whole length of
Yeah, I
it.
saw that.
That is why that's there. So that was done as a result of a communication from Craig to myself and a response back that we would do something in the short term. This happened on a Friday, either late morning, early afternoon. It was the weekend, so the quick resolution to try to create a barrier there was bales of sand, stakes, and yellow tape. So if this is an issue once, it's going to become an issue further, so it remains in that state today. And Craig had said he was going to contact Springfield Fence to get pricing to put a fence along that edge or take some further action. So all we've done is try to give a visual aid to not cross that line. So it's an ongoing issue that you should be aware of.
And it's right, you know, we laid the asphalt up on that edge, so it's like,
And it's steep. It is steep.
But it's going to be a temporary thing. When we redo our site, you know, we'll take care of that.
right.
Yeah.
It's just a temporary thing, and I think it's not the prettiest solution, but it seems to be working fine and cheap enough, so I think we're good on that. And I haven't heard any from the insurance companies yet on the other one, so looks like we might be okay.
Okay. So because that was in my opinion, a matter of public safety, we took action, spent a few bucks and covered it for the weekend and thereafter.
That's good. Okay, great. And you'll keep us informed, Greg, as to this is going on. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, we have a mowing equipment quote and award that we did not act on our last meeting. due to continuing questions, and you raised a point that we may have some other further consideration on this.
Yes, so you had tabled it for this meeting, so you have copies in your packets that you got when you arrived of the 3 quotes. And I have the July bill from McGowan Property Maintenance. I've talked with Eric and Brian today, both were in my office simultaneously. And to give you a feel for cost, each time that the following locations are mowed, it is a $310 value. Town Hall, the fire station, the pool, the library, and the sidewalk green space. The sidewalk green space is not mowed as frequently as the other 4, and the sidewalk green space is an $85 value. It's the highest item that we pay for, but it's not done as frequently. If we are buying a mower and buying it at this time, we may use it for a period of 4 or 5 mowings at best in the rest of this season, and then our warranty will run through the winter when it's parked. More importantly is in fact that Eric and Brian both think that an investment of nearly $10,000 into a mower is not a wise investment. That a private contractor can do and maintain their own equipment and provide the service better than even our own highway guys can. That as a piece of equipment, over the course of 10 years, it'll cost us the same to simply have a private contractor do it. And it'll save us on hours of the highway employee performing that task. So realizing that I believe in your budget process, there was the additional highway employee for 10 hours a week to be doing the mowing and other building maintenance functions. In what little time I've been here, I think there still is enough building other maintenance functions to fill 10 hours a week of an employee, because we've never had one.
All right.
And so there are many things that are seen visually that are just not taken care of that could be in that same regard. Some of those functions actually may be related to VOSHA requirements. Things need to be wired a little differently around here. They haven't been checked, but those are things that I've noticed just from my experience. However, within these quotes, there is a utility trailer. The discussion we had 2 weeks ago was whether or not we could use the fire department's utility trailer. The future holds for the fire department utility trailer to be outfitted to be ready to hitch onto and go. And that would mean that apparatus or whatever would not want to be used. What is happening and has been happening for a number of years is Brian himself brings his personal trailer, and it is used often for a week at a time for functions of line striping in the town, crosswalks and the like. The paint apparatus is set up on it, a flushing water tank is put on it, and it's his private trailer. This is a bad practice. If the highway had its own utility trailer, they would find themselves using it for almost anything that a pickup could be used for, but the height of a trailer is easier to load and unload from. So I would actually recommend that we allow the highway department to purchase a utility trailer up to a value of $2,000 for their use. And the rest of the funds that we've earmarked of this $10,000 or so, we simply retain for other purposes, which we might get into later in the evening.
So the yearly mowing costs to a private contractor would average
If we took 310,
310 times, well, how many times then?
oh, I've been through 15 times. And this year's been worse because it's rained more.
$4,500 to $5,000.
It's actually quite a bit.
Yeah, no, that's.
We have no maintenance on a mower. We have no labor on the mower.
No costs, right.
And
right,
we don't
right.
have the need for literally a pickup and trailer to move them over.
Right, but if we're gonna get the trailer anyway, because that's, well, anyway.
Have we been compensating Brian for
We
the
have not.
use of his truck?
We had no,
So, does that raise any kind of liability issues or anything like that? for
well,
us?
nothing's happened, so I think
Right,
we're
right,
good.
no, I understand, I'm sorry, I'm just, asking that. Right, so that if, in reality, I mean, something comparable, I mean, Tom used, would bill us for time using his personal vehicle before we got him a vehicle.
Yeah.
There would be a cost if we were to compensate Brian for the use of his trailer.
Yes.
What would that look like, I guess? But,
He's-
okay, I mean, you don't need to.
It's kind of arbitrary because he's not in the business of renting.
Right, I understand.
So-
I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but, and if you charge per mile, typically, 53.5 cents per mile. So town guards to the village to paint and back.
So, I mean, the cost of the mower, if you take the trailer out, the cost of the mower after the discount looks to me like it's probably roughly 75, 8 grand, something like that.
It looks like it's
So-
somewhere between 15 and 18% discount,
Right. That's
right? And so
yeah.
we were actually talking about as simple as a tractor supply. Right now, I think they're $7.99
Right,
trailers.
the basic 8 by 10.
Yeah.
Right,
Something like that.
Flat
yeah.
Yeah,
Something though with enough weight capacity so that we're not,
Right.
yes.
Well,
Kind of.
big enough to haul the mower.
I have a tractor supply utility trailer that's 6x8, 2,200 pounds capacity carrying tube rail versus angle iron, and very versatile.
Right,
I mean, if any of you have a trailer, you know.
right. You smaller mower,
Yeah.
have it ready to roll.
And the other piece that we have that is actually would help us in a winter time is the steamer. Right now, they load that steamer in the back of the pickup or the 550, which is a much higher based item for a volatile piece of equipment. And the steamer and the tank could be put right on the trailer and immediately
Be
be
ready to
accessible
leave.
and run out and
Right.
deal with the culvert. So it could be set up and be immediately available without interfering with having to move the brush truck, unload a trailer, to use a trailer, to then go back and put it back. And literally the trailer that we've talked about is under $1,000.
I'm just doing the math on that mowing. I mean, if we called it 12 times a year, I think 15 is probably a little heavy, but 10, 12, somewhere in that range. It's $3,700 a year, not including, as you said, maintenance and labor, etc. But that trailer, I mean, that mower actually, at that rate, that pays back relatively quickly. I don't know whether we want to do all the math on that. So, I mean, I
2.5 years, something like that.
I didn't miss your point about it being late in the season to buy a mower. The flip side is I don't know whether it makes sense to wait till really the end of the season and then see who's looking to get rid of a mower or two. But that math is actually better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know whether, maybe we want to really try and pin that down as far as what the math is concerned, including an annual service and, the hours of labor that we assume it would be, et cetera, so that we have actual numbers. And then, but I think jumping on buying a mower at this time of year is probably not the,
Most prudent.
I wouldn't think so.
Continue with
Unless they
private
want to
mowing
give us
for the
that.
remainder of this year, and then re-examine this.
Look at it in the
Purchase
spring,
in the spring.
before we contract it out in the spring.
are there,
But I would say, in that same light, I would say if we're buying a trailer, we should buy a trailer that
We'll handle them all.
could handle the mower if we decided to use it. And it sounds like it would be.
That's the one main question is the one Pinnacle View Hudson trailer
Yeah,
that's on there for 1887.
yeah.
But we presume that there's a discount associated to that, buying that trailer as well, municipal discount.
Right. So, yeah, if you apply that same roughly, well, if you
If you bought it all
Say
at once,
roughly,
the trailer itself is free, if you look at it that way.
you know, yeah,
Regarding other small engines right now that the town has, whether it's pumps or chainsaws and things like that, who does repairs on those? Do you know?
they do most of it in-house when they can.
I think, yes, the exception to that's gonna be when you look at wastewater. Those pumps are dealt with
Right.
pump experts.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Uh,
I mean, like the motors and things like that, though. I mean,
I
think that,
I know they take some stuff up to Ron's, Husqvarna, I know, you know, I think they, depending on what it is. they
Well, I guess what I'm
have
wondering-
different people.
right, what I'm wondering though, I mean, with maintenance, would it be prudent to have, who's doing
Who's doing?
the mowing?
Oh, Lenny.
No, it's gonna be Lenny, right? Would it make sense to train one of our own people to be able to take care of all of this stuff?
You have to
So
have
that-
somebody who has the inkling to do it too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and shops who do the maintenance regularly. If they have to rip down a motor, they know how to do it because they've done it. and they
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
Right.
If we have a machine that we rip down a motor once every 3 years,
Right.
you're likely to end up with something left on the table.
Yeah, no, but, you know, a machine like this certainly isn't gonna, with the usage we're gonna put through.
It'll rust before it actually needs to.
Absolutely, no question, yeah, so.
Right.
No, I think we consider the trailer
Yep, I actually,
and we
I mean,
have more, and again, when it comes to the spring quotes.
I don't think that's been that clear to us that Brian's been providing.
Needing,
this, you know, right?
yeah, no, I didn't realize that either. So, do you want an up-to amount for that?
We'd prefer an up to amount that allows us to then see what we have for options out there.
Right.
You
Well,
want- I mean,
just
you want to
looking at
use
the price
this
tag
as the
on this one.
baseline?
1887, you know, we got to figure we're going to have to register it and, you know,
Yeah.
it gives us so maybe like 2,000.
That's why I was spending out 2,000.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Move that we allow expenditure of up to 2,000 for a trailer of
Single axle.
Brian and
Highway department.
Chip's choice, yeah.
Second.
All right. Been moved and seconded that we are going to purchase a single axle trailer for the use of the highway department, potentially for mowing, but also other multiple purposes for the highway department. Any questions, additions?
One point also, would we need something, do these don't have brakes, do they?
No, they don't.
No.
Wouldn't be necessary.
Wouldn't be
It's not heavy,
necessary.
it's not
Right.
heavy enough.
Okay.
If we were headed to brakes, we'd go to a tandem axle, which would spend $3
Then
grand.
it would be
No, this is-
easily.
We don't- we don't-
You know,
Yeah.
every lawn maintenance guy is hauling a trailer like this.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
just a
basically
little
that
thing.
setup and
Yeah.
load
Yeah.
is what we're talking about. All right, if that's the case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, Brian, thanks you.
All right, on to the recycling issue. With Greenwood Drive residents, do we have anybody from Greenwood Drive to speak? And
That's,
Or is
is that why you're,
Where is Greenwood Drive?
well,
Where's
that's
the road to Green Road School? Yeah, off of Hodenbrook Road to the Greenwood School.
you're part of a group dumpster situation.
Yes, we are.
out
Okay, I
on
didn't ever
Watt-
hear it
Watt
labeled
Pond
as
Road.
Greenwood Drive.
I know, I heard that, I think that was the first time.
I had to think a second.
Yeah.
Yes, we are part of the group
We're
recycling.
Greenwood Drive residents.
Yes, we are.
You are a Greenwood Drive resident?
Yes, we are, yes. How is it working out? Well, we're finding we have a lot more recyclables than we have the, like, it's the containers to, you know, they get filled very fast. Before they were only getting, well, first they were being emptied once every couple weeks, and then they were filled up within a couple days. But of course, how many, there are 18, 19 people, or there are more than that, people in our neighborhood that share this.
Right.
So we have a very strong recycling group in our neighborhood.
So we now
So-
have 6 bins, right?
Yes, we have 6
They've
bins that are
increased it.
emptied once a week. So, and we've all talked about this, and we're wondering what maybe the town will be doing in the future, you know, as we look ahead to terms of, I mean, we'll keep it as it is right now, but we're also questioning as to what will happen in the future with the town.
You're mentioning that you're noticing an increase in the recycling amounts, and is that, do you feel that's just the residents in that collective adding more, just taking their, adding more recycling and not using the town bins, or is it more folks using, I don't know how accessible, I guess I would have to take a sort of drive by and see what the arrangement is, but do you think more folks are recycling using your bins?
Are non-Greenwood Lane residents using them as well?
Well, we don't have a camera or anything set up to identify that, but I think, we're the main people who know about it, but who knows? I mean, there might be some.
Yeah, there's 8 or 10 houses that use it. I think there's probably the same amount of recycling as we had before. It's just now we're adjusting to these bins, which are quite small and not very efficient. You try to put a box in there, and then where are you going to put your other stuff?
Yeah, big cardboard is kind of hard compared to the other ones that were down at the fire station, so they get filled up quite fast.
So we're finding it's a bit costly, and we're just wondering what, is happening as far as the town is concerned now. You've sent out some information, that's really great. We're just looking for an update, I guess. We have to make some decisions as to what we're going to do.
Do you have any sense of what that cost is for the 6 bins getting picked up weekly?
I don't know the total amount, I just know for our house.
All I can say is for each household, but it's like about $13, but that's for quarterly, it's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
Just like our trash is pretty inexpensive too, but that's amongst, I think, 18 to, I don't know how many families exactly, because Karen Gustafson is the one who oversees all this, and I don't, but it is inexpensive, but obviously it's more than in the past when you just go down and anytime and put them in the town.
There's no doubt that the access and the availability of the dumpsters that were provided by the Waste Management District, not by this, and remember that was a district-wide service provided, that was not provided by the town of Putney.
Right.
That was provided by a larger body politic. And I hate to say it, but I continue to say that the real solution to these issues are only going to come from that broader environment. Trying to, each individual town to enter the dump business, as it were, is going to be very costly. I mean, that's even in a small way what you're going through, where you're seeing a sudden uptick in the amount of dumping without basically hiring someone to watch the dump, having them locked, having hours. At that point, we're in the dump business. Okay, I mean, nothing is impossible, but it's going to be costly and take a good deal of time to set up. That's what we're kicking against. While side by side existing with this is, albeit somewhat, it's not as convenient as the dumpsters being at the firehouse, but you can continue to take your recycling to Brattleboro. And I think that the Waste Management District will get through their, the tie-up. And I did this myself 2 weeks ago. I was in line at the dump on Saturday morning with, our recycling, and the line went out past and onto Old Ferry Road there. And it would behoove us to, and all of the towns, to put pressure on WS&D to either increase their hours or accessibility, and to sort of streamline the process, not having to go over the scale and whatnot. But it all really comes down to, I think we can continue to work on looking at costs, maybe some alternatives of trash pickup and whatnot, but we're talking serious numbers to your tax bill. So, yes, Sam.
So,
Oh, sure.
can I go first?
You can go first.
So I was here last week, and it was a long discussion about all of the issues, and there were definitely a lot of issues. But since last week, or 2 weeks ago, I thought, well, why not as simple, why not? Why not just set the bins up at the town garage, which is less accessible. You have $40,000 that you got from town meeting, set them up and see what happens. See what the usage is. If you run out of the $40,000 before town meeting, you just end the service. But set it up and in preparation for next year's town meeting, where you have some real information to present to people about whether they want to continue, if it turns out it's really costly, or maybe, maybe it won't be as costly as you think it is. But there seems to be such an unknown. Why not just find out, since you have that amount of money?
Well, we have considered that. Again, we're still not prepped for a possibility, that site yet. There were some constraints on it, and there are other fiscal constraints that have arisen this year since the budget was established. Primarily, the fact that we're now compensating fire department members for on-call response time, and that, it's not an apples or oranges or robbing Peter to pay Paul situation, but there's, again, only so much money in the budget. And at this time, right now, those costs are being covered by an $11,000 line item that was in the firehouse budget for equipment purchase and whatnot. Actually, it's a little more complex than that, but just for our purposes. Tom had the internal operations report from the fire department and stressed that it would cost somewhere in the neighborhood of, given the number of calls, response time, the number of people needed, that the cost would run around somewhere around $40,000 plus $42,000 a year. So we're looking at saying, where do we find this pot of money, as it were? And unfortunately, with the removal of the dumpsters, we were presented with an immediate, do we immediately respond to this and, in effect, set up the dumpsters, see what happens, see how far that budget goes with that. But now we have a sort of a slightly more pressing matter of public safety on us. We can address this budgetarily in this budget creation season coming up this fall and look at it for town meeting. But I just think that, I suspect that through the remainder of this fiscal year, it's going to be difficult for us to see our way to getting into the dump business. And that's, but I will. I guess anything to add to that?
And does.
Okay, fire away.
Okay. You asked us, to come back if we had any thoughts, and
Sure.
The meeting last time was really helpful. It clarified a lot of information for us that we didn't have, and gave us a lot more to think about. And I guess one of the thoughts that's occurred to me, which is that, at this point, we take for granted that it's a community responsibility to pay for schools, for roads, for fire protection, for the police protection. And that we're almost at a point, because we're such prodigious consumers, that the idea that it's also a community's responsibility to take care of waste generation seems to me an idea that's approaching something that needs to be addressed and dealt with. And that it's a new idea for people, and therefore there's a lot of resistance. And you all are caught in the squeeze between all the other needs. But that it might be helpful for the board to just really put it out there to the town and say, this is a civic responsibility, and what are you going to do about it come town meeting? that it is a collective responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more, and
Yeah.
what I simply would reiterate is that it's not merely a town of Putney issue, it's all of our surrounding towns, and the solutions, or viable solutions, are really going to work more effectively in that broader context. I mean,
It's, you know, I mean, very basically, I think economy of scale is very important with this issue. And I think that we all, you know, there was a certain amount of writing on the wall, but the fact that Wyndham Solid Waste sort of went through this in a way, discovering that they couldn't manage it, you know, for then us to take it on as an individual entity, as Scott's saying, and not, you know, not that we shouldn't, it's just, it's a regional issue, no question, and Wyndham Solid Waste is no longer seemingly the regional entity that's going to sort of figure it out for us, which is what they've been doing. So whether we need to do something different regionally or whether we take it, I think you're right, it's an important town issue. So whether, you know, I guess my response would be, you know, we need to figure out what we need to figure out before town meeting day and have that information available so that we can evaluate it well. You know, whether that compares the pricing of, you know, recyclables here versus having townwide trash pickup versus, we've been talking about this because Chip has worked with Westminster and other places on their trash pickup, and that, you know, it's an expensive investment, but I think I totally agree with you. I mean, it's something we can't just pretend it doesn't exist, and if we do pretend it doesn't exist, it's going to start ending up back in the streams and woods and so on where it used to go, and none of us want that, obviously. So you know, I mean, I don't think it's on, we haven't ruled out the possibility of putting the dumpsters by the highway department. We've just been sifting through a lot of other things at the same time. So, but it is sort of unfortunate that it will take as much work as it will to, you know, the idea of just sticking the dumpsters down there is great. I think that would be excellent if we could do that and just find out what it costs. But the reality is it's a fairly significant commitment of time and money on the highway department part in order to just allow that to happen, because they need an area. You know, it's surprising when you start looking at what it takes to have 3 dumpsters available and managing them. It's a chunk of land and has to be set up for it pretty thoroughly. So,
right, even at a minimum, and then it raises the concerns of, you know, access. Are they going to be accessible 24 hours, you know, 24/7 the way the dumpsters were? How do we monitor that? If not, and again, you know, the numbers start piling up. But it's, I think, you know, we continue to look at possibility, you know, different possibilities, up to and including, you know, townwide pickup service. I mean, remember also that, what is it, Act 148?
yeah.
Will be coming into full effect as of 2020, which calls for separation of all organic matter for recycling. You know, I mean, some of us are able to compost at home, but not everybody. Not everybody wants to throw the chicken bones in with their composting, you know, or whatever. And, you know, these issues are going to be coming up. So how far do we go with recycling? Do we stay with the bottles and cans and paper? As I say, we were a little unprepared for, you know, well, I mean, we knew it was coming, but it still came up hard and fast on us at the fiscal year end.
Do you all have a timeline in any sense of when you would like to have decisions made?
Honestly, an existing timeline for that, no. I would say it would be part of the generalized discussion starting when we start talking about the budget in November, somewhere in there. Is usually when we, you know, go through our budgetary process, and this would be part of our considerations at that time. So, in all honesty, unless things opened up and we saw a way to pursue your option, Betsy, of simply putting the dumpsters up and see what it costs us, We'll probably be looking at this, you know, again, after discussion at town meeting. I mean, I see a lively discussion about this at town meeting, for sure.
I had one 2 weeks ago.
Well, I mean, again, I think we need a broader input than 10 folks, and you know, your input is always welcome, and it's important to do it, but it's part of our considerations, for sure. But as far as actually a timeline, that's probably the closest I can come to saying any kind of definitive time frame.
You were mentioning that it's really a regional issue. A lot of the towns are in the same boat. I was just wondering if representatives of each of the towns might be getting together to try to solve it as a
well, again,
regional?
The waste management district still has representatives from each of the towns. Dan Toomey is our representative to the waste district.
So they're talking?
Yeah.
It's unclear to me, and this may well just be ignorance on my part versus the fact that it's not happening, but it's unclear to me that this has generated a much broader discussion than was already existing in wind and solid waste, but it may have. I mean, you know.
Sure. I mean, the pressure on them has got to be. I mean, first of all,
I would assume
again from the on the ground level, that they're, you know, I'm sure the folks working there is saying this is going to work. This is crazy. Right.
So I mean, maybe we should find out when wind and solid waste has their next meeting and ask Dan to give us an update at that time, and then see where, because that also, you know, we had been in discussion with them about using their dumpsters for our pickup, et cetera, which is a possibility, but I think my sense is they're still sort of just trying to figure out how to manage what's going on right now. So I don't know whether they're taking sort of that proactive approach yet. I'm guessing that will filter out essentially, as we've been saying, sort of over budget time, and as the necessity of this becomes more noticeable for people. But
also, I think as the pressure builds on them, and this again, town by town, they feel that pressure. You'll see more of the haulers perhaps interested. We only received one bid, a single bid from a hauler on taking recycling bins for us. So that kind of is a limitation on us on that decision, saying, okay, well, you know, we've got one hauler that's giving us a take it or leave it price. And they were very willing to work with us on, you know, saying, okay, we'll give you specified amounts, no long-term contract if you don't want to, or things like that. But it would be helpful to have a broader range of choice.
I think this is strictly anecdotal, but my sense is that the reason several of the haulers did not submit bids is because they were already aware that they were going to be stretched beyond their limitations by these changes throughout their sort of usual routes, much less to try and add more to their load as they were coming into that. So, and again, that's just my sense of it, but that was certainly the sort of the discussion that came through with people who we contacted to say, you know, are you sure you don't want to put a bid in? They were just sort of saying, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the equipment, we're already going to be going beyond what we can. So I think our options are, you know, as far as some sort of a regional or even townwide at this point, it's probably fairly limited what the options are to us, I would guess. For the short run, that should change over time, but I don't know.
Is that helpful? I know it's
not very
helpful. So you just want us to come back.
Somebody to pull a rabbit out of the hat here.
Yeah. So relative to your specific group, I believe the conversation I had with your bookkeeper, if you will, who came and spoke to me, is that you are being treated as a commercial account as opposed to residential. And the rules are different for a residential than they are for a commercial account with Act 148. And so you are being charged for recycling.
Right.
And Act 148, residential pickup requires recycling to be free with trash pickup.
However, if you were being charged as a residential entity, presumably your trash pickup would be significantly more expensive in order to allow for the free pickup of your recycling. So I'm not sure there's a
Yeah.
how that would wash out if you were to change that situation.
Right, they are charged distinctly a fee for
So
recycling.
how does something like Westminster that has trash pickup, how do businesses?
Businesses are excluded from that
excluded
service.
from that service, okay.
The recycling, they
Trash
have to
and
pay
recycling
separate.
pickup.
Oh, they are excluded from
Totally.
trash too?
Commercial apartment buildings,
I was about to say, does
multi-tenants
that include?
are excluded from the service.
So
We'll
they
get into
can-
that in the next
They can
agenda
either
item.
choose to pay or not.
Yes. So that's, in my conversation, I picked up on that you were literally billed separately for the recycling service. That told me they were treating you as a commercial business.
And this would be, we had this discussion 2 weeks ago, about the way, like you guys have said now that you have X number of containers that get picked up once a week. What you're paying for is you're paying for them to do that pickup once a week, but also as your volume increases, you'll be paid for the tonnage of that pickup. So it's gonna change the cost of the recycling, definitely. Through maybe more extensive pickups and/or increased tonnage per pickup. So one way or the other, that equation is going to shift. But I inquired about residential town pickup in the town of Putney, and for a weekly pickup this was at Triple T, for a weekly pickup for a single residence, it's $49.50. $39.50 for if you go to every other week. And that includes trash and recycling, so that's sort of a reference point per week. Is that a week or is that a month?
I think so.
Maybe I'm speaking. Maybe that's a month.
I think that's a
weekly pick. That's a monthly charge for a weekly pickup. Sorry, I misstated that. Yeah.
39 for an every other week.
Exactly. So, but it's $600. Yeah, it's a $600 annual expense per household if you were to have weekly pickup. So.
Which is a relevant fact for town meeting.
Yes. Well, it's sort of those. I mean, you know, presumably, if we were to do townwide, there would be savings. Again, economy of scale on any of this stuff, but still, you know, when you're looking at the cost per household, and it would be distributed obviously by tax base. So, but it's not an insignificant cost when it boils down to it to tack onto people's taxes. So. But.
Well, thank you for your patience and your time.
Keep going, it's an important issue.
So you hang around for one more agenda item and you'll learn some more.
So.
Okay.
The next agenda item is a recycling information update.
Which we've done some of now.
Which I've done some. So, and when we get to the last pages, this is the part that's fun. So I provided to the select board quite a packet of information. And this much of it is available on the web. If you go to the Department of Environmental Conservation and search for universal recycling, you'll get what the law's intention was, where it came from. And then, of course, you know, WindhamSolidWaste.org is the local solid waste regional service, if you will. And there has a town by town what your options are. And so you can actually compare town by town and say, what are my options? An interesting fact is when I actually stopped and was checking in on Westminster, who does townwide residential pickup. When the Putney dumpsters disappeared, Westminster West residents called.
Not surprising.
Okay, so that's the easy part.
I think a lot of Dummerston called.
Called Dummerston and said, what's up?
Yeah.
So the last 3 pages for the board to look at, These were the options originally typed up by Cynthia. With recycling option 1, containers taken away from the town, each resident disposed of their own and the cost at that time. Option 2, the same, 24 hours a week with cameras and all that jazz, with an actual cost estimate of $60,000. And then option 3, to set up the containers and have them hauled away with a $10,000 value. So these were all options that had been put out to the board sometime probably 4 months ago as numbers.
Yeah.
And so I found that to give it back to you again, as these were things and choices that had already been looked at here.
Yes.
This is not new to the board at all. But the notes that I have as of August 10th.
Pass this around if you folks would like to take
If anybody is-
scans at it,
Yeah.
just of the 3 options.
There's
And
another
this,
copy.
on option 3, you can make note that the estimated cost for hauling from that was just about 41? What was it?
Yeah,
I
it
can't
was-
remember.
we budgeted, or you budgeted 40, and I think the number came in at 41.5.
But that, right, so
It was
40,
higher than what you
so
budgeted.
41.5, and that did not include the 10,000 that we'd hoped to spend on
Just setting it up.
just setting it up.
Yeah. So, on August 10th, I collected some information and typed it up for the board to be able to look through. I started with the town of Westminster, which was referenced multiple times 2 weeks ago. And why don't we just all start that? So town of Westminster has 1,341 pickup points. A 3-year contract held with Ruggiero that's in its last year right now. It includes curbside pickup, which includes trash and unlimited recyclables. Residents only, no commercials and no apartment buildings are included in the pickup. They must do their own. And as I already said, commercial properties can be charged for recycling services. Residentials cannot, according to Act 148. Annual mailing takes place out of Town Hall just after the fiscal year begins. 52 tags, 1 trash bag per week, but additional tags are available for $2.50 that you can pick up at Town Hall. Meaning the bag you put out for trash has a tag on it to say this bag is part of the program. Without a tag, it does not get picked up.
And there's only,
One
within
bag-
the cost of pickup, there's only 1 bag per residence.
1 bag
Yeah.
per pickup location,
Yeah.
correct. They also have access to the Rockingham Westminster Transfer Station, which is only open 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesdays and Saturdays. Recently, Rockingham instituted a $20 vehicle sticker fee. They also collect a price per bag of trash, which is dependent on the size of the bag, anywhere from $2.50 to $5, and based on gallons of bag. They also have a price per pound with a truck scale for construction and demolition. They have containers for recycling of food scraps and yard debris that are free at the present time. The fun piece, budgeted revenues in Westminster, $2,800 for the extra $2.50 a bag. Budgeted expenses for this service, collecting waste, $126,000. Disposing of waste, $52,000.
So those two are both essentially the contract with Ruggiero, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I would,
And
one
then the
is,
others
one
are-
is tonnage and one is
the others
truck.
are not, right, exactly.
And then the solid waste assessment fee, $36,700. Recycling storage facility, $2,800. And so a total expense of $217,500. The next cost to taxpayers, $214,700. 1 penny in Westminster raises $28,337, or is equivalent to 7.58 cents on the tax rate.
0.0758.
No,
Yeah,
it's
seven-
7.58 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is clearly a cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rockingham. Again, the same transfer station, the same rules apply, except there is no annual sticker fee if you're a Rockingham resident. But all other costs work the same way. There is budgeted revenues that include a tax rebate. Now, to understand the situation, the facility is located in the town of Westminster, but by agreement, the town of Westminster reimburses the town of Rockingham and the village of Ellis Falls. Village of Ellis Falls owns the land, town of Rockingham owns the building. And whatever the taxes are, Westminster pays them back for having the facility available to their residents. So that's a wash with an expense line. They also have income for tires, $1,500. Soda cans, meaning sorting out the returnable cans, they collect $6,000 for. White goods, $3,000. Brown goods, construction demolition debris, $35,000. Miscellaneous, pretty much anything else that comes in that's not qualified as other items, $17,000. Scrap metal, when they turn it in, net of the hauling fees for scrap metal, $2,000. Electronics, $1,000 for non-qualified devices. They have to pay a net tonnage for that to be picked up. User fees, $58,000, tickets and or direct sales. Total revenue, $125,700 budgeted. For expenses, wages, $17,500. They have 2 part-time employees.
So nowhere in the town of Rockingham they have municipal pickup, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
They have 12 volunteers during the day that that's open. Material supplies. This is advertising, light bulbs, whatever they need for the building, $2,000. Repairs and maintenance, $5,000. Brush chipping, because the brush comes in and needs to then be chipped up, $4,000. Equipment, this is new to their budget this year. They're buying a trash compactor and containers. However, this is for zero sort recycling.
i.e. single stream.
Single stream. Again, the Westminster tax has an expense for $1,600. Recycling, telephone, internet, $650 required for electronic filing of reports. CFC removal, $1,800, usually offset by fees for the disposal of the same. C&D disposal, $50,000, 7 cents per pound, and they may have adjusted that rate up to 10 cents by now. Tires to get rid of, $3,000. This is primarily a cost that is incurred during Green Up Day when tires appear from nowhere. And so you see $1,500 to bring them in. Theoretically, the cost to get rid of them has been passed on. The reality is another $1,500 cost to get rid of tires that show up on Green Up Day. Electrical bill, $1,500. Fuel for the propane heater, $600. Public education, just posters and whatnot, $100. Container transport, $11,000. Simply a truck to move it. Recycling materials sorting, $25,000. Electronics disposal, $300. That's for the non-qualified items. Solid waste disposal, this is tipping fees, $30,000. Total expenses, $189,000, with a net to taxpayer for budgeting, $63,350. A penny in Rockingham raises $44,780, or the cost of this service at that location for those limited hours is 1.42 cents to run the facility. It's open 2 times a week, rain or shine for those hours. Not shown in this cost is the highway department running calcium chloride truck, plowing, going down the day after, every day that it's open, with a backhoe and packing the containers. Not shown is any cleanup as a result of a DEC show up on violations. It's done by the highway department. And all of those are costs not seen in this budget, but seen by highway performing as DPW. And then, if you took all of those considerations, the town of Putney this year raises with 1 penny $23,910. So what do you want to spend?
Actually, Chip, I would just like to say right now, when we had this discussion after the meeting 2 weeks ago, and I asked you to sort of go through and give us a sort of general figures, this is very helpful and very complete. I thank you very much.
Well, I happen to be in business.
Oh,
So all of that is information, and some of that, again, is there are hidden costs in both sets of information here that are just borne by other departments and administration to go through. If you do get into the business of having a transfer station, you are subject to DEC inspections. And VOSHA. you just expose a lot more than this activity.
No, I have to imagine that the coordination of the volunteers at that facility takes some serious doing, because they're very organized up there.
Yeah, and what you have, much like I think I experienced here since I've been coming to meetings here, is there is a sound base of people sincerely interested in recycling.
Making it happen.
And making these things happen.
Yeah.
And they have time.
Yeah.
So, but that's a lot of activity. What I didn't get into and didn't try to research is tonnage. What I can also tell you is that the compactor that they're putting in is to realize that every time a truck picks up one of those containers and hauls it, it doesn't matter how much it weighs. It's $175.
Right.
So the goal is to
pack it in there. Yeah.
It all right now is being hauled to Rutland, the only zero sort center other than Chittenden County in the state. So they're hauling it across the state to deal with the recyclables. There is no commodity market for any of this material that is of any real value. The discussion, I attended several Wyndham Windsor Solid Waste District meetings in Springfield Town Hall while manager in the town of Rockingham. If we could eliminate glass from recycling, then the affordability and the equipment necessary to do zero sort will last a whole lot longer. Because glass is sand, and sand, when it gets into crap, makes a hard job for any piece of machinery. And so, and that's where a lot of your weight is in glass. So that's the information that I came up with since 2 weeks ago, which is why I suggested you stay. This is not new. Like I said, if you go to the DEC and do universal recycling and start reading, you will be amazed. This is somewhat an unfunded mandate on towns. The only obligation a town has, which is in a letter that I also provided to the board, is to educate. That's it. Educate. Tell you about it. Tell you how it's supposed to work. They are not required to do it, just to educate. And I signed for a bill to be paid for that flyer that went out. So we've met our obligation to the DEC, but the civic question is still there. What can we do? What should we do? And if you want to go to the level those two towns are at, a totally different level than this town ever was, and what you had wasn't even the town's.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. This is really nice.
It'll make
So if you want to leave now, you can.
But take your trash with you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. See ya.
For the good news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which part was that?
Make it happen.
I think there's another spot open on the board, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
Oh, which one?
Wyndham Solid Waste.
Wyndham Solid Waste?
Yeah.
So Putney has an opening?
Yeah.
Or they have an opening?
So I think
Well,
we
we're
get two
allowed to have
spots.
two representatives in Wyoming now.
Only
So-
have one.
Yeah, signed off.
So what-
Right.
not included in your packets, but I have a letter, a memo, if you will, for the Putney Select Board from Steve, Eva, and Katie. We are familiar with the Oversight Committee for the Whitney.
request,
Right.
yep.
We have a request to pay $202 out of that fund on behalf of an individual to assist in rental payment. If you'd like to see the request, we can pass it around.
I'll make a motion that we approve of the request for $202 as presented by Steve, Eva, and Kate.
Moved and second to,
Thank you very much. You will see that it gets taken care of.
approve the Whitney request for the amount of, what was the amount?
$202.
$202. Any other questions, additions, anything else? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Next,
Next up is an appoint to a representative to attend the VLCT Employment Resource and Benefit Trust Annual Meeting.
you may
I
have,
nominate Chip for that.
I was going to say that.
Unless Laura wants to go, or unless Laura and Chip want to go. No.
It sounds simple.
No.
I don't know if, are you familiar with
Yes.
all of these events that happen annually? It's an annual meeting. We are members, you are members of VLCT and various passive and verb associations. Annual meeting has a representative from each town who can be a voting member. And traditionally, at least where I've been, one of the board members goes and represents. However, being of astute, sound mind and better things to do, you certainly can appoint anyone or no one if you so desire. I am right now a contracted individual, not an employee of the town, but I do represent by title. If that's your desire, at the present time, you would be paying a rate per hour for me to do this at the present time. So bear that in mind as you make these decisions.
When is the date?
October 5th.
And when do we need to RSVP by?
I think they desire one somewhere around probably October 1st, so you've got time.
We've got time. Let's let it sit for a little while, but let's not forget about it.
And where is it?
It's in Killington, tough place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Theoretically, there won't be any snow there, but yeah, anything's possible.
These days.
So we will probably want to add that back
Come back to that.
in the second meeting in September.
Yeah, about a month.
All right, about a month. All right,
Okay, so we have a motion to sign a letter to the Yellow Barn.
that's a letter.
Yep.
To give you the backstory on the letter, an individual came into my office and desired that the town present a letter to the Yellow Barn Music Festival. I requested that the individual please
Draft a letter.
draft this letter on behalf of the select board for the select board to sign, which they brought it in. Laura put it on letterhead. If you would like to read and so desire to approve Scott signing on behalf of the select board this letter, then we will see that it gets mailed.
Should I just read it aloud so
Sure.
we have a record?
List.
To Catherine Steffen, Executive Director, and Seth Kropp, Artistic Director, Yellow Barn Music Festival. Dear Catherine and Seth, we, the town of Putney, as represented by the Putney Select Board, wish to congratulate the Yellow Barn Music Festival on the completion of another successful summer season. Putney has been extremely fortunate to have Yellow Barn in residence again and again. You have given this community cultural enrichment through many venues. We are aware that the Yellow Barn is a year-round enterprise here in Putney and elsewhere. Our intent here is to acknowledge the gifts your organization brings to the community. The money spent in our community is to the benefit of numerous businesses and organizations. We have been remiss over the years in acknowledging your contributions. We are fully aware that the in-school programs we have, library lectures, and of the in-school programs we have, library lectures, and next stage performances.
Okay.
Yep.
You are one of the major nonprofit educational centers in our community. It's gifts such as Yellow Barn that strengthen the treads of the common treads or threads? Probably threads. I would think of the common core of a community such as ours.
Or
We
grids.
value and support your endeavors. You have our thanks and admiration. Sincerely, Scott Henry.
So with the revisions, we'll have a nice clean copy for you.
Certainly.
Uh,
And
Sometime-
I'll make a motion that we endorse Scott signing this letter.
Second.
All right, motion made to sign an open letter to the Yellow Barn in thanks and recognition of continued good work.
Yes, thank you.
We'll have a
All
clean
in favor?
copy for you in the morning.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
The lister, yes, I understand we're losing a lister.
via email, you were notified,
Chris is
and
retired.
the last day is actually September
Right.
Huh, I didn't know that.
31st. Yes.
He has got a new job and is going.
Okay.
Want to work for the state,
Right.
more from local government right up to the big one.
The frying pan into the fire.
The property valuation review,
Oh.
as a,
So he'll be the guy that,
as an advisor, I believe. Yeah, so we guy going around.
So Chris, and first of all, I would just simply like to say thank you to Christopher Linden for his service, and we've really gotten the listers department is really feeling, functioning very well and, successfully, and we will miss him. And so the question, his term ran, he must have been reelected for a new term in March.
I can't remember.
So we would be.
It's a 3-year term?
It's a 3-year term, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so he was
So we'd
reelected,
be
yeah.
looking for somebody for,
Remainder of that term or for
Well,
1
you
year?
typically go to March,
Right,
and
okay.
then fill the rest of
And then
the
we fill
2
it.
years.
Right, okay. That's
Do you normally solicit letters of interest from parties for the board to appoint somebody to hold the position until March?
yeah.
And the position would not be vacant actually until, I think, September 30th is the date in this email, that would be his last days. So this is just, it's a little preemptive to
Yep.
Start thinking about it.
to appoint somebody, but it certainly is not preemptive to ask for people of interest to provide letters to the attention of the select board. But we could certainly, if you do have a place, post it on the webpage,
Yeah.
assuming the webpage is up.
Yeah.
All right, well,
So the board is aware of that, so it is in an email.
so we're looking for a new lister and letters of interest from folks that are interested in the position. Would be for the remainder of this year and then would be
Potential
open.
re-election.
Potential re-election for the remaining 2 years of Chris's term to follow.
Just imagine the glory of winning that election. Something to look forward to in March.
We have a budget for salaries.
Can you be a lister and a selectman?
I don't think so.
Consider that?
No, I don't think you can. Sounds like a conflict.
All right. All right, well, speaking of conflicts, well, that takes us.
Old business,
That's
item
it.
G only.
Yeah, that's, I don't see anything changing there. I did see, or there was I had asked about if Tom had any sense of the success of
Yeah.
funding response time, and while it's rather short notice, and it takes a little more time to build up the data on something like that, that he felt that it was showing decidedly an increase, despite apparently he's lost a few more members due to retirement or other circumstances.
Yeah.
So we'll again promise to keep us quarterly updated on that, and so we can more effectively see how it works out.
So you all got a copy of that one?
Yep.
So, town manager's report, we've got a whole list
Oh,
here.
a whole list of stuff
Whole
here,
list here.
which
All right.
is really just informational. So the first thing on the list, water treatment plant review inspection from A&R will be this Friday. I will not be able to be here because I'm going to be out at medical appointments for the day. I understand that a couple members of the Conservation Commission are planning on attending at the plant itself. This is part of the process for the renewal of the permit to discharge.
Yeah.
And so this is, I will call it a necessary evil, but it's not necessarily evil. They're going to go through the process, they're going to ask questions about the equipment, record keeping, infrastructure. S&S will be, or Simon's operations, will be going through with them that day, and will address any concerns and bring anything to our attention that is necessary relative to this project. I got a personal phone call from the representative from DEC inviting me, and I had to apologize I couldn't make it. It is an area that I'm familiar with the process, and that in Rockingham we just went through that same process with the Village Wells Falls wastewater treatment and Saxon River. Okay, so that's the story of that one. You are all welcome to attend should you have the stomach and desire to be there.
Is there a time frame?
I think they're going to start at 9 a.m.
Okay.
You can check with Joe, because Joe's going to be the
I'm sure.
lead on this, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Next, I wanted the board to know that, in case somebody asked you, where did Tom disappear to? He's actually spoke to me today. He's disappearing 21st, 22nd, 23rd of this month.
3 days vacation, that seems unreasonable.
He said he was leaving his cell phone with Scott.
It's in the mailbox on Holland Hill Road.
If anybody needs it.
He's leaving a couple of his captains in charge, and he said he would give me a phone number to contact him. I said, leave it with your 2 men.
That's right.
If I need something, I'm going to call one of them.
Yeah.
The goal, I think, is for him to actually disconnect. And if he's anything, as I am, a disconnection is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So, just for the board to know and the public to know. That doesn't get you off the hook for anything you might do wrong. Next item, Sackett Brooks Dam maintenance is scheduled. I have, again, a memo from Tom that Sackett Brooks Dam, adjacent to the old firehouse, will be drained for cleaning and maintenance work beginning August 30th. At 5 o'clock in the morning, they're going to start. It is a process that happens every 2 years. It's within the fire budget to pay for 50% of this service, as it is a fire pond. Loaders from both Soundview and the Highway Department will be there. They're going to stack debris in the parking lot out just adjacent until it dries and can be moved by highway. So it's going to drain right there back into the process. And so that will be happening early morning hours on August 30th. They expect that the dam will be back in operation by the end of day the 31st. And so if you get phone calls, that's what's happening, and it happens every 2 years. Okay?
I wasn't aware of that.
Well, what are you, new to the board?
That's good.
You want to read
See
this?
what-
Yeah.
What treasures roll up behind the dam?
We just hope there's no treasures behind the dam.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just,
right.
you know,
Or no surprises at least.
Yes.
That
Treasures would be fine.
good straw, right, good,
Yeah.
rich silk.
And for those who notice, there's a pipe coming out of the dam with 2 nice sprinkles coming out of it. That is not part of our water system. That is a feed for the mill. Okay? It was brought to my attention several times, and when I looked into it, no, that's not one of our pipes. Rescue Inc. sent a notification inviting the select board to attend. The West Townsend Station, fully operational, and agency assets have been shifted around between stations. They are holding an open house in West Townsend, Thursday, August 31st, 7 p.m. And board members can go there and talk with them and see their apparatus and what services they're providing. And the topic of discussion primarily will be emergency response services for the year 2018-19. Open forum with the Chief of Rescue Inc. and the Board of Trustees. So that'll be held Thursday, August 31st, 7 p.m. at Rescue Inc. 541 Canal Street,
So it's
Greenwood.
not.
No, just that they've opened their office and they're gonna start talking about how they redistributed their assets. Okay, that's my area. So, Town Fair, Killington Grand Hotel. We just talked about October 5th. There's a full slate
Yeah.
of education for 2 days. There is items here of interest both for highway employees, water, wastewater, administration, select boards, any and all topics, and you end up rubbing elbows with people who've been doing this type of stuff for years. I don't know if you individually got packets to be able to sign up. Traditionally, if board members go, the only recommendation is you all take separate vehicles. Because you're a quorum, and two of you get in the same car. In this case.
Yeah.
And you will be undoubtedly talking about the business of town.
Right.
So,
Just one person can do the talking for the trip up.
yeah. So.
No response.
So.
You can talk about the weather, I think.
Good board meeting.
We have to be able to.
So this is an annual event, and I've attended many of them as both a vendor and then as a manager and as an employee.
Typically,
A lot of good information can be derived and a lot of contact
I think
information.
Cynthia attended.
Yeah, Chris used to go too.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah, so just for the record. And lastly, in the event you didn't know what the IG 2016 Putney 00003 grant was. This is relative to VCDP for the noise property and meeting compliance. So unbeknownst to the grant financial person on the record, I was notified that we were given an extension to meet all the qualifications for the award to December 31st. And so someone out there is inputting data on our behalf. I'm sure it's probably the Wizard Housing Trust. My understanding relative to that project is that we had a construction meeting here with District 2, with Vermont Housing, with Lyndon Windsor Housing, the contractor, general contractor, which is DEW, and one of the subcontractors, which is Basin Brothers. As early as this Monday past, they may have started in on working on site. This is 3 distinct buildings, 6-unit houses each, accessing off the landing road. So they're expecting 10 months for the work to take place for completion.
And have we heard anything about coming off the landing road?
Everything is designed as being that way.
Yeah.
And construction's underway, and the state's
So-
District 2 has talked about that construction, so I think it's a done deal.
Seems to be resolved.
A done deal. Yeah. And then their property up on Kimball has a 9-month renovation project going underway simultaneously. And so we're going to see, through the winter, we will see construction activities at both of these locations.
Good.
Okay? So I've been in contact with them. And I also have that as far as we have right now, we have only 3 properties left
On the tax sale.
on the tax sale. They are Michael Stockwell, Lee Prescott, and Kathy Ann Vigenin. And I've been in contact.
Town farm, a town line road.
Yeah, I have been heard from the mortgage holder of one of these properties that it shall be taken care of before the 29th. As well, for the rest of the world, even though this may not get out until it's too late, property tax first installment is due this Friday by close of business 4 p.m. Get your payments in. If they are in the basket in the hallway after 4 p.m., I believe we don't accept that as timely. They need to be in Laura's hands. And if I run out, that's what I got under town manager. And under financial, we need to talk about trying to adjust some budgets. Unless anybody's got any questions over that slew of information. So, if you will, Chair, we can move on to budget adjustment discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay, so, you have one page of 9 pages that I printed because I wanted to bring to your attention the area where I've marked as budget adjustment. What I understand to have happened during the budget process was that because there was an election process that was going to go on before the budget to be approved, the budget had been split in 2 lines. But the intent is, should the present clerk treasurer be elected, that the salary was going to be made up of those 2 lines. Is that a true statement? I believe so.
Yes.
So what I would like authorization to do is to actually make a budget adjustment to move the $14,560 that on this report is listed as account 100-3500-1200 clerical, and move that up to 100-3500-1000 town clerk salary. This is the salary that has been provided for the town clerk, the elected official. If you notice, that line on that page shows that it's at 20%, and we are in the 2nd week of August. And so without moving that number, we are on target to be way over budget.
Right.
And so it is clear to me of what the intent was, and we should move that budget so it is clear that is where that number belongs.
Why was it listed as a separate thing?
It was listed because she wasn't elected at that time.
Because it was, right, it was unclear whether
Right.
a person would be elected, and that salary, you know, the
So that would change
job adjustment to making it a 40-hour position for the town clerk. So that those 2 numbers total the amount.
80, right, exactly.
That was offered as compensation.
So it comes together as a total of $43,680. And that's salary that does not include benefits.
Does not include benefits, correct. So, clarity based on discussions that I've had with individuals that are asking, there's money left in this budget, there's nothing here. The reality is this budget belongs up in that other budget based upon the events that have happened.
Right.
And as a result, I want to bring clarity to that picture. So this board and the public can be explained. It was presented this way based on elections. This is the salary of the clerk treasurer.
Yes.
And specifically, this is the salary of the clerk position, $44,680.
And I would like to thank you, Laura, for this. I was a little confused when presented with that, and you were able to straighten me out immediately.
And thus I heard it and said, let's take action.
Yes, so then it looks to me like then the amount expended would represent roughly 13%.
Which would
of
be
the
on,
budget
would be on target.
about right.
Yeah, 12 to 13% would be on target.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's a flat, weekly distributed pay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, you have a question, Greg?
Yeah, I was in the office today to pay my taxes. I always like to come down and pay them in person. And I noticed that Barbara wasn't here, or Anita wasn't here. Of course, the town clerk isn't here. There was a new person here.
Yes.
So is this related to that? And what's the strategy for the management of the day-to-day business here at the town? I understand that some of the staff was asked not to work as few hours as possible for some reason.
Okay, well, first of all, Barbara's, her time as assistant town clerk is 20 hours a week, which hasn't changed. And that's that on these 3 line items of town
The
clerk's
assistant
office.
salary.
The assistant clerk salary. There is no further assistant clerk salary for a second assistant clerk salary, which was, Anita has been filling in. You know, we clarified that in our meeting last week when, you know, Presidio said we will pay you from the day of her retirement, which was the July 1st, through that date, which was August 7th. She would be compensated for her time. Also, we're paying her insurance benefits through the 31st of August. She continues, and then we've asked her to come in to provide the minimal detailed duties by statute for an assistant treasurer, which she also holds that position. And so it's really not a matter of asking people to cut back their time, it's putting all of these salaries and amounts in line with what we've budgeted for it. So, I mean, the real missing component in this is by not having our
elected town
clerk and treasurer.
Is there any update on that?
And we do not have any further update on that. Unfortunately, we are virtually powerless in this, you know, other than inquiring after, looking for someone's input on this. And it's made it very difficult for us, to say the least.
Is she drawing salary now?
Yes, she is. She's an elected official with, essentially that is the budget for the town clerk's office.
And the details of that are public information, presumably, because checks have been cut?
Yes.
So that's based on her drawing sick pay that she has been eligible for because she had built it up over her previous time working here. We don't know what the plan is when that runs out, whether time slips will continue to be submitted. We're not sure.
And what's the story on the new person?
Leah
Loomis.
Loomis was hired as a part-time bookkeeper to assist Laura and Cynthia at the time on the financial management.
And this was...
She would report, you know, she reports to the town manager and to Laura.
And that was all part of discussion that we had at town meeting time and previous, that was part of the shift of the treasurer's position to a stipended position, that we would be hiring a part-time bookkeeper to essentially do the record keeping that's necessary for the treasurer's office to stay current and make that available.
I guess I was...
So she was in the works. I mean, that discussion happened and the budget was approved based on that. And then she was hired in, I want to say, the beginning of June, something like that. Yeah. All part of a plan that was already in place previous to the clerk and treasurer not being available.
So it seems there's an effort by the select board to pretty much do the financial management, control the financial management of the town rather than the town clerk or the treasurer.
Well, the clerk typically wouldn't anyway.
It seems that way because for so long it was held by a single person holding that position. But, you know, as I spent the last weekend in between visiting with my grandchildren, reading old town reports back to 1881, right through the 20th century, was actually really very interesting on a lot of levels. But there are many stretches there where the treasurer and town clerk were different folks, but also there were long-serving people that did both jobs. You know, it's gone back and forth. But as we all know, the finances have become incredibly more complex and a lot more demanding, and you know, a lot of times elected town treasurers aren't meeting all the qualifications to get the job done, and more towns are moving towards you know, professional financial management while still maintaining the statutory considerations and actions of the treasurer in a stipended or limited
So that's what
capacity.
Putney is doing, is moving towards more professional financial management.
Which is, well, what we've been working on really
For a long time, a dozen years.
Right.
I mean, that, you know, the introduction of when
When we brought NIMRIC into the town office in 2008, yeah, actually, was it?
Maybe it was 2006.
Yeah, a little bit earlier.
Right.
Yeah, simultaneously, I was in Rockingham in 2006,
Right.
Cynthia was here.
Reggie was probably pretty instrumental in that.
She was certainly part of the discussion, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was instigated basically, Greg, by the fact that our budget, yeah, that our auditor came to us and said he was no longer willing to audit Putney's financials because they were in such deep disarray. And that's when we started to engage NIMRIC. And then, as you know, when NIMRIC worked here through Chris Ryan's time, and then when Cynthia came on, her position was both the town manager and the financial director. And really what the gist of the effort is to spread the load across a greater number of people for two reasons. One, so that one can't sort of get buried in it. But two, well, three reasons really. Transparency, so that everything is done, you know, easily accessed reports, etc. And then also more sets of eyes on it. I mean, the treasurer, you know, plays the role of being the one who writes the checks and therefore oversees the money that's actually going out. But at that point, it's already been seen by basically Leah doing the bookkeeping, Laura doing sort of the oversight of the bookkeeping, and the manager being in charge of the budget. So now you've got four people's eyes on it instead of in the historically, you know, sort of strict treasurer method, there really was only one person's eyes on it. And that was causing trouble for us back then. And so we've been slowly working towards not having that case.
So would you like, do we need to make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, to authorize the adjustment of budget for those two lines
Right.
as shown on that
And
document.
then,
So moved.
okay.
And then we'll make a budgetary adjustment to that effect. And then I would like to discuss another, possibly two, that came up tonight, maybe we want to address or not address. That being fire, moving the line for the fire call. You said you had 11,500 that was going to drop down to pay the call, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You made the statement the budget doesn't reflect that. We've been charging to a line that you meant to move, I believe.
That one's already been moved.
I
It has
think
been
we,
moved?
I
For
think we
fire
did.
calls
certainly
to
talked
paid
about
on
that.
call
To paid on
salary
call?
or something
Yes.
like that, so that one we did.
That has been moved,
Yeah.
all right. And then thirdly, whether or not the recycling $40,000 wants to be moved to that same line.
I would say not yet.
No,
Have
I
we
was gonna
expended
say,
the 11.5?
right,
Yeah.
I think we had left it that we would expend that
Only if we
11.5
needed to.
and move it
And then
as
decide where
necessary.
the money would come from
Right.
after that.
And maybe, and by then have a better handle on what Tom sees
Things
as
will be actually happening.
actual cost. Right.
Okay.
So that'll stay sort of.
Good. All right, so the only one then is clearly the salary of the clerk to be more defined in the budget as it actually is being followed compared to what was presented.
All right, well, that's been moved and seconded?
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, There it is.
Okay.
We got a few warrants, and we want to,
So, yeah,
We do need an
make a
executive session.
motion. Well, yeah, no, that I realize, but we want to make a motion concerning.
Should we do the warrants and get those out of the way?
Right.
Oh, we need to make a motion,
to approve the orders, bills, and warrants as presented.
so moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please pass around and sign as
All
appropriate.
right. And we'll get ready to go into executive session as soon as we're done with that.
I will make a motion that we
Yes.
enter executive session.
You have to do two motions. The first one is actually to find the premature general knowledge.
Would
example.
clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage, so I'm making a motion to enter, motion to find.
Motion to find, you get a second, and you say you agree.
Motion to find the premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to enter executive session under VSA 313 for the purpose of the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during the open meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.